Hi everybody, Matt Bull here from Action Coaching Loughborough, here with another episode of the Business Spotlight, and I'm delighted today to be joined by Gareth Winterton from HDS. How are you today, Gareth?
Good, thank you, Matt.
Excellent, excellent. Let's get us started then, Gareth. Just give us a little bit of an overview about who you are and what your business does.
Okay, so my name is Gareth. I am CEO of Hospitality Digital Services. We specialise predominantly in the hospitality, but we spread across the retail as well. In point of sale, EPOS, mobile ordering. We actually brought mobile ordering to the UK back in 2019 before COVID hit. And then we built EPOS, compliance, and a whole load of other services around that to make our product very sticky in this industry.
Excellent, excellent. So, fascinating area to be in at the moment in respect to the tech side of it. How did you end up in this sector, Gareth?
Software developer for 25 years. Worked for many agencies around the UK in Europe. And then I just came across an idea actually for digital signage back in 2018 whilst I was taking it to a show in London. I saw that everyone was either bringing out robots or big kiosk screens and all these like amazing bits of equipment which looked really nice and shiny, but we all carried one of these. And I just thought to myself, in my software head, I can create something here which doesn't require an app, runs off someone's phone and does the same job. And then my wife was head of sales and marketing at a hotel at the time, and we joined the two things together and came up with what we did.
Excellent. So you've been in business with your wife since the beginning?
Since the beginning, yeah. So we launched HDS in 2019 when we launched our first mobile ordering app. So we launched the first mobile ordering app predominantly for hotels at that time to fix the pain points of room service. We were gifted a number of hotels and two chains which adopted our software, and then they sort of helped us further develop it, take it out of room service, put it into banqueting, meeting rooms, pretty much everything and anything within hospitality.
Excellent. I've got to ask because people will be interested. Start a business with your wife. What are your key lessons along the way of that journey now, 3 years in?
A lot of patience, obviously, communication, having very specific roles. Making sure meetings sounds weird, but to actually have meetings and make sure your time is planned properly. And also being best mates helps.
Always very good. You mentioned 2019. From what you described the business does, what did COVID and the lockdowns mean for you guys as a business?
So COVID actually grew our business. We sat top of Google for the term mobile order and pay when COVID hit. That saw our business grow to about 60 customers in about 2 or 3 weeks. It was huge for us. The government basically said that everyone should have table service, and we had this product which was all ready to go. And that really meant that everywhere we took it, we then had to integrate. So we're integrating with other people's EPOS platforms and other services. And we then took our software and thought, actually, well, there's a hole in the market here, or actually what was being offered wasn't really that good. So we then built our own, and that's how we kind of kept growing.
Cool. And that really, you must be able to really embed yourselves in organizations then with the systems that you put in. Is that attributed to the growth of the business?
100%, yeah. So I think what we've tried to do is we're a solutions company essentially. Yeah. So my background in software development has always been about removing the barriers and looking at fixing problems. So I think having my skill set has really allowed us to go into these businesses, especially in hospitality, and go, okay, what are your problems? What are the pain points we can fix? And that's kind of what our software has just done. And what we've tried to do is create a whole suite now. We've got a whole suite of app plus software, which are fully integrated with each other, which makes it a very sticky product. If you have an EPOS, you're never likely to be removed unless fundamentally your software isn't good enough or your service level is not there. The same with a property management system or a full compliance engine or a loyalty system. As long as the systems all work and they become very sticky, and then you put it all under one platform. Now we are very unique on the market now. isn't another platform like ours with everything under one roof.
Yeah, very cool. And when the way you talk about being solutions and customer focused, is that always been sort of part of your background 25 years? Because a lot of people will say they are, but actually often it's about them. They think about themselves and what they can do rather than actually the pain points of the customer.
I think I've been a software developer, and I think there's two sorts of software developer. You've got the very introverted, quiet guys who are quite happy to sit in the corner. You chuck work at them, they work through it, right? I always felt I was a little bit different in that I learned to communicate first. Had many jobs growing up before I actually went into software development. I suppose I came to it quite late. I was late teens, early 20s. And at that time, the internet was not long born. So there wasn't an awful lot around to learn. It was a lot of it was self-taught. And then because I had that ability to actually communicate first on a non-tech level, I suppose that really helped me then as I got into software development, especially on the agency level. I was able to communicate to the various different seniorities through departments and the teams, help actually get that message across, take a brief from a customer, but also have that ability to go, I know you want this, but actually this might be the best option. And I suppose over the years now with the experience, I've got to the point where I was able to go, okay, well, I can give you 3 options based on time, speed, budget, and that's kind of, and go back into your customer sort of focus question. I've been in like agencies like 15 odd years, and it is very much customer driven. And then with my software head as well, it's always about actually how do we create a bit of software which doesn't require support. Our last support call was about 4.5 months ago. Provides very little support, very little maintenance, fundamentally just works, and creates a happy customer base. And I think that's what we've achieved.
Amazing. You just mentioned there some early experience with customer facing roles. It's something that a lot of the companies we work with talk about, these kind of life skills and the ability of younger generations to engage and think commercial. What was the experience you had? If you don't mind me asking, was it working in bars, restaurants, pot washing?
No, not at all. No. So I've got an interesting one. So I first started years ago. So I left college and I did a leisure and tourism qualification, which I look back and now I think that was a complete waste of time. I then got a number of bar jobs, as you do. I worked in a number of leisure centres, a couple of warehouses, and there was this one particular one where I used to push a box around a warehouse. I was picking for Monsoon in Leicestershire, and there's a really good HR guy, and I remember going to him one day and saying, "Look, I've done this for a year. It's blowing my mind. I'm just bored, And he was like, what are you good at?" And I said, "Well, I like computers." So he stuck me in the office and he gave me a pick sheet, which is essentially the next day's picking sheet. And then in those days, you had something called a dumb terminal or a green screen. It's like a black screen with some green writing on. And what I had to do was basically with a ruler, go line by line on the pick sheets and cross-reference it against a database. And I was like, this is mind-blowing and boring as well. So back in the day, there was a bit of software called QBasic, very early programming. I just wrote a little script which connected to the internal database. I was able to cross-reference the numbers on the screen to the database, and what should have taken a day, I could do in about 5 minutes. And it completely changed how they then functioned as a business. We could rattle through picking sheets in a matter of no time. I then recoded their thermal printers to print quicker and reduce, I think. It was that sort of stuff. That's kind of how I got into it. And then they sent me on a course. I did a Java course. I then got an opportunity for a job as a web developer, which I had no experience in, but I had the ability to communicate. So I ended up kind of blagging the job. And I sat down on the first day, and the senior developer came over to me and was like, "You don't know what you're doing, do you?" And I was like, "I've not got a clue. I've not got a clue." And he chucked me this book. He said, "I'm not going to say anything. You've got 48 hours. Read this. And then what will be. They'll probably find you out." And no one ever found out. So I read this book and I just kept reprogramming Python, PHP, Java. I kept rewriting myself over and over, and then no one found out about it. So that's how I started.
Amazing. What a story. What a story.
Yeah.
What are the, if you had to pick one thing that you can attribute your success to, what would it be, Gareth?
Probably a lot of tenacity, not just to not give up. The first year was really hard. I know in my own head, I've got the skill set, right? You know, when I first started, I'm the developer, I'm the salesperson, I'm the support, I'm the marketing, I'm the account person. Yeah, I'm everything, right? And it's knowing that actually my self belief that what I've got is going to work, right? I spent hours, months, a year battering LinkedIn, getting no response, and it can be soul destroying. But it's having that tenacity to go, I'm going to keep going. You know, we couldn't pay the mortgage at one point in 2020 because our suppliers, we didn't have enough customers, and the suppliers we did have couldn't afford to pay because of the staff, and COVID was bad. And so we weren't getting money in, we had to remortgage twice. And at that point, you could go, I'm only going to get a job. It's having that drive just to go, no, it's going to work. And 2 months, 3 months later, customers just started. Actually, the customers we stuck by, then referred us and referred us and referred us. And we're at about 98% referral now. We don't actually take new business. All of our customers are referred, pretty much. And the odd bit on LinkedIn I do still, but most of them still come via and they somebody else. Never not spent a penny on marketing, not spent anything on advertising, nothing. It's just all through word of mouth and a product which just fundamentally works now. But yeah, it's just that level of self-belief and drive that it is going to work, it will be successful, and then constantly changing and adapting. You know, we had mobile ordering, and the amount of people that told me just stick with mobile ordering, don't just stay with that because that's what you're doing really well. And you know, in my head, I'm like, no, we need to do EPOS, and no, I need to create a compliance module, and I need to create loyalty, and I need to create. And if I hadn't done that, we would have been so targeted towards one thing now, which actually in reality, mobile ordering is still a thing. But what came out of COVID was, I think when we went into COVID, there was a stat actually in hospitality where 85% of your customers don't want to talk to you, right? And I think that was quite true before COVID. You know, quite a lot of people just quite happy just to sit there, you know, and not have that communication. But I think what we came out of COVID was just a desire to talk. Yeah. And, you know, and so for us, it wasn't just about mobile phones. It's actually about how do you approach the customer, talk to them. He's still given the electronic stuff, he's still given the means to be able to do it themselves. Certain age range demographics will do this all day long without getting off their chair. But there are a number of people that actually still want to be communicated. So for me, it was about how do I keep changing, adapting, and, you know, to the point of now we'll get asked something and I've changed things in meetings. You know, I've changed things during a customer's request. You know, it can take minutes. We don't wait months or, you know, for a change. We do it there and then or a week later. And that level of flexibility and change, I think, is our secret.
Awesome. That tenacity and drive and resilience that you referred to, it's something that we hear a lot from the people that we work with in other interviews. Is that something that you think is just within you, or do you remember an event or anything like that where you thought, you know what, I want to own my own business? Because it's not an easy choice. People often think, oh,
yeah. No, I don't think. And personally, I never years ago thought I was going to run my own business. I always pushed the line. I think wherever I worked, whatever I did, I think if there's a line, I'd always be at it or just slightly 1 foot over, pushing the boundaries, asking the questions why can't I do that? You know, that is, I think, has always been my personality. And it wasn't until I actually thought, do you know what, I'm going to do this, and actually realised that I should have done this years ago. And I hear that in probably a lot of. I wouldn't call myself an entrepreneur. I'm not a serial. Over the years, I've had lots of ideas. I actually probably think of it. If I wasn't doing this, I'd probably do something else. And I'd like to get to a point where I could keep spoiling off new ideas. And I suppose that's entrepreneurial. But for me, it, just having that ability now just to work on our own and build this business up is just, and that's what keeps me alive a lot and drives us forward. You know, I used to hate Monday to Friday, you know, when I used to work. I love Mondays. Monday's one of my favorite days now. No, actually, this is what we were saying at the very beginning before this thing started, right? Every day seems to roll into next because actually each day for me is a new opportunity. You know, we don't our core base is so varied. You know, I'm talking to someone from Saudi Arabia at the minute because they want to take our product and launch it in Saudi Arabia. I've got contacts in the US who want to take it over there. We just hit Europe and we're going across Malta at the minute. It's amazing, you know. And every day there's a new customer, a new opportunity, or someone to go, look, I need 4 terminals at this location. How quick can we get? That's what I find really exciting.
Amazing. You mentioned there the amount of opportunity that's out there for you at the moment. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business? And you know, you may say you're not an entrepreneur. I think to many people you definitely are. But how do you maintain that balance?
It is hard. I think I found it hard at the beginning because my head was very. I mean, I'd never run a business before, so this is the first time. You know, I learned a lot in that first year. My wife's got a very natural business acumen. Interestingly, probably another different podcast. She runs a bakery now. She used to be head of sales and marketing, but we both started these 2 new businesses, and it's just hard to get that work-life balance. For me, though, it was about creating a product which didn't need a lot of support. Right, so I've managed to launch across Europe without leaving the UK. I mentioned before, I tend to try and work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. Right, purely is that I have that time Mondays and Fridays. Not that I'm not working, but I'm not here, there, and everywhere. It's just about getting that balance. I think trying to get that balance. And actually, we work to live, right, and not the other way around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Excellent. Final question I ask people. There's a lot of people watching this who'll be thinking about starting a business, maybe even some that have started that are finding those early days tough, which for a lot they are. I'm sure we can all reflect ourselves. What advice would you give to early stage business owners watching this who are finding things a little bit tough at the moment?
What advice would I give? Just stick with it. And I think, look, if you've got an idea that's going to work and you know your heart's in it and you know just keep going at it. I surrounded myself with a lot of similar people going through a similar thing. I did a lot of networking, a lot of local networking. Would I say I got a lot of business out of it? No, because we weren't that sort of local business which was an easy referral to. But I think there's a number of people going through the same thing. And just having that level, those people around you, just having people to talk to and share ideas with, who also understand. I think just having that network, I think, is really important.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Listen, Gareth, absolutely amazing story. Congratulations on everything you achieved, and no doubt everything you will continue to achieve moving forward. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on this episode of the Business Spotlight, and I wish you every success moving forward. Many thanks.
Thank you, Matt.
And to our viewers, I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Business Spotlight.